Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to be here today with Kelley, who is one of the coaches within the Thriving Place. I was just saying to Kelley before we started recording that these conversations with our coaches, I think I'm going to have to do it with everybody because it's just such a wonderful way for people to obviously hear about you, meet you, know why you're in here as a coach, what you bring. And then we're going to move on to talk about your incredible program, your body awareness program that you put together that is free access for Thriving Place. Is that right? For Thriving Place members? Yes, which is incredibly generous.
For the premium and VIP members. Yes.
Okay. Excellent. So first of all, Kelley, who's Kelley? Let's learn a little bit about you, where you come from and why you're here.
I'm Kelley. I have a lot of life experience, a lot of things that put me to where I am today, and they're long stories. I won't bore everybody with everything, but I am. I was an athlete as a child, and it extended through university, through college. I just thrived in that environment. It was fun. I was very competitive, not much anymore, but I was very competitive. But with that and growing up with a father that was very sickly, with a congenital heart failure, and watching him go through that, I was bound that I was going to lead a healthy life. And that's why then I went into health and physical education, taught for 20 years. And that was kindergarten through, I even finished in higher education. I taught some courses in higher education. But it evolved. It grew. I became an exercise physiologist, and then I got into wellness and recreation, and then corporate wellness, which is where I really, and it kind of collided. That's a favorite word right now is colliding. It collided. Corporate wellness collided with maybe my age or my final awareness of where I was in menopause and why I was gaining weight, and I was doing everything that I recommended for people, and I still was gaining weight, and my blood pressure was going up, and that I didn't want that to happen. I went to the doctor, and all of my numbers were good, all my blood numbers were good, but that blood pressure was going up, and I was keeping an eye on it. Mm-hmm. And when I finally became curious enough about the ketogenic diet and just listening to people and listening to testimonials and their N of ones and people that I knew, that I worked with, that tried the ketogenic diet and just proclaimed how wonderful it was, I'm like, I put this off long enough. Let me just try it. And wow, it was an experience. And let me tie this in with this body awareness. Being an athlete, I was always very conscientious of my technique. I always worked technique. I didn't just, I swam, I played basketball, but I didn't just go out there and move. I moved with purpose, and I knew if my stroke was slipping, or if I wasn't dribbling, I was dribbling the basketball too high, or whatever. I just recognized when my performance wasn't right, and that tied into then when I was working with people, I became more of a personal trainer, exercise physiologist for corrective exercise, so helping people rehabilitation, or help them if they had muscle aches, or if they noticed something in their technique that they didn't know how to correct. I could see it, and I helped them make those corrections. So that's my hot spot, and And I've taken that to noticing metabolic health too. There's still things that stump me. I still am trying to figure things out, but um, I find that as a gift that I can do that with myself, and I can actually see it in others. Yeah.
Have you always, is that a new thing that you see it as a gift, or have you kind of struggled with, knowing what to do with this awareness, or, you know, I don't know. I'm just curious around that because often the things that we end up seeing as gifts weren't gifts in the beginning, didn't sort of come to us as that. It was much more of a curse because we can see what's going on when others have no awareness of that.
Right. I've well, I can't always say that I've tagged it with the term gift, but I've
Yeah.
always loved the fact that I was able to do that. Even though
Yeah.
I've had people, say, "Oh, Kelly, this is you're ridiculous," or whatever. I I couldn't change what I knew. If I can see it, I know it, and I can't change that fact. So I have always thought of it as a gift.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. So, what do you think were for you the biggest challenges, when you found the ketogenic diet, and how long ago, was that for you?
21. I think it's been just 5 years. Yeah.
Oh, 19,
20
2021. I thought you were saying
2021.
when you were
Yeah,
21. I'm like,
20
wow, you were the first.
No, not my age 21, the year
Right.
2021.
Right.
So,
Okay. Okay.
and I
And
and,
what?
you know, I baby stepped into it. It
Yeah.
was, "Oh, I'm just gonna go low carb." I'm sh
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But, what I did, I found a doctor online that was talking about menopause and you should, go low carb. She was very low carb oriented. And I bought into it. And she's actually, I give her credit for giving me the spark to move on. I don't follow her too much anymore, but because she started pushing, supplements and things that she and I'm not all about that, but so I
Mm,
kind of dropped off following her, but she was very good at presenting the facts that I know. So,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And the biggest challenges that you've found in the last sort of 5 years, kind of making it a lifestyle for you? What were the things that stumped you or you had to work around?
Oh, uh, uh, making the ketogenic diet it is a lifestyle. It's not a diet to me. It's how I live. I really didn't have any issues, and one of the main reasons is my husband. He and I talk about it all the time. Really, that's the brunt of our conversations. We talk about it all the time. We talk about what we feel, what we're noticing, and so and having us both in that same aha moment. It we really didn't struggle. I mean,
Yeah,
there were
that's great.
incidences and
Yeah.
cases, but I made choices. I have gotten to that point where I've made choices. I was in a situation, or and still today, I go to social situations and I'm going, "Oh gosh, look at all that sugar. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do?" And, sometimes I can let go of it, and sometimes I can't.
Mm.
And the times that I can't, I make the choice, I'm gonna either eat it or not. Usually when I do eat it, I know what's coming down the pike.
Yes.
I know it's coming. I know it's
Yeah.
coming. And
Yeah.
so, um, so I pick and choose the fights that I want inside of me. So,
Yeah, yeah, I like that. That I mean, really, that's the essence of ownership. It's we understand all this stuff, we do all this work, but taking responsibility for our choices, I think, is foundational, and it is something that we work towards just because of the conditioning around. Well, someone's going to tell me what to do or give me permission, or when we make a choice that we perhaps regret. All the stuff that flows on from that. But I think at the end of the day, certainly my perspective is, and the essence of coaching is helping people to just own their choices. It doesn't mean we make perfect choices all the time, but the ones we do make, we just have to own, and there'll be consequences to that. And it's our responsibility, I think, to own it. So I really love that. Kelley, what what landed you here in the thriving place?
What landed me here? I think that would be a question more reflecting back on you.
Well, I can tell the story if you like, but I want to hear it from your perspective.
Well, Tracy and I met, you and I met in 2023.
23. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
We met in 2023. And I, with the education that you were delivering with Nutrition Network, it resonated with me. Now you came from the more the mental, emotional, inside perspective from that angle, and I came from the physiological component. Now they do mesh. They do mesh, and I understand that. But I focus more on, oh, okay, how did the inflammation? Did you get inflammation? How do your knees feel? How I don't know. Your tummy. Do you have digestive issues? How about those headaches? Did those go away? I get people to see those first.
Mm.
I get them to see those first and then make an emotional connection with, positive or negative, with those feelings that they recognize. And that takes a long time. But anyway, back to that. With that, then after graduation from Nutrition Network, and I've just followed you in your programming and your website to then start introducing the emotional components, the quantum components of our health, the other aspects than just the physiology or the kinesiology, maybe. I don't know if that's right, but the physical components, adding additional things that I can talk to people about, because I may come across a client that has that's more forward in that direction.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's kind of the holistic, elements to coaching. Whereas, like I certainly came into it with the physical as well, and the dietary. And I think for a lot of people, it's a great place to start.
right.
But I think obviously with my experience and then the work, I think the people that find you tend to find you for a reason. And it was always people that were struggling. Yeah, I know that I shouldn't eat that, but I know I shouldn't be doing that, but I just don't know how to stop it. And I think that's what took me down, that sort of emotional understanding of choice and all of that, what was behind that, and really seeing that there's so much work, I think, in there, and it will keep continuing. But I think, from my perspective, Kelley, when I met you in Tennessee last year when I was over at the Locale for Better Health, which was just oh my gosh, it was so wonderful. I loved that event, but it was the first time I met you in person, and I loved it. I loved it. I loved meeting you. I loved your energy, and it was also in a conversation there with you and Denitra that this idea was born, even though it's changed shape and it's given birth in many different ways to probably what the conversation was, that we had back then. But you talked about this, I suppose, this awareness of your, whether it was your performance or what was going on in your body For me, it's a gut. It is that awareness of what goes on in me and that energy transfer. And I think that when I've met, having met all of you, I've had all the coaches in person. There's a real transfer of energy. It's like, yeah, Kelley's the one. She was the one that I invited in and asked. And I'm really, really glad that, that you're here, and that I think together, that's the thing. We don't all want to be the same. We don't all come, to this from the same path. We all bring a uniqueness. And that's, what I hope, is kind of flourished in a place like this, that we can be who we are. We can come from our perspective, but always be willing to see something new and something more, around that. And then, that's going to lead me into asking you about, this program that you've put together. So what is it? What does it look like? What are some of the key concepts that you've put into it?
So I created it because in the years of coaching that I've done, and this is coaching in training, being a personal trainer, and now as a wellness coach. The one common thing that I see a lot of people doing is just going through the motion. They want to be told what to do, how to do it, how many times, etc. And they don't recognize what they're doing is incorrect, or why they're doing something. They don't feel it, they don't recognize it, they just don't see it. And I created this as, I don't know, maybe a little spark to say, okay, pay attention. Feel what's going on in your body. Even though you can't feel it, at least have an awareness of what's happening in your body, because it usually takes just one little spark, one little thing for people to recognize, oh, yeah. When I was doing personal training, a lot of the work that I did was core, because people had back issues. And I helped them with their core, and taught them how to draw in that transverse abdominis, the core, their core, and which is the front lower belly and your butt. And they couldn't feel it, those muscles twitching. That was partially because the muscles were really weak and they just didn't have the innervation. But it was also partial because they just couldn't feel, because they just went through life not knowing that that's what supports their body and their movement.
Mm.
And so once I worked with people, and it took 2-3 weeks, sometimes a month, before they actually started becoming aware of their core strength and what it does for them. Same thing with the foods that you eat, the sleep that you get. Same thing with the blue light. I'm really in the baby stages of learning about blue light and how it really affects me. So anyway, this was just a way to create awareness for people to think about why they might want to make some kind of lifestyle change, where
Mm.
they might want to start, things to look at other than the number on that scale, because that's
Yeah.
usually the first thing that everybody wants to see go down, and it's not necessarily the first thing that they see that goes down. It is the headache that dissipates. It is the eye twitch, the muscle twitch, the nose that doesn't run anymore. I don't know. It's the blood pressure. For me, it's total body inflammation. I swell right up like a balloon. For my husband, it's all in his gut. He doesn't get any visible outwardly signs of inflammation. His is all in his GI tract. People that I've talked
Interesting.
to have, it's headaches.
Yeah.
Their headaches just go away. So
Hmm. I love that. I love that. I think it it really is aligned, with everything that we do, which is about awareness. And I think this is another layer of taking us back home to ourselves. It's just maybe different words, but it's 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 really starting to notice, what's going on within us. When you were talking, what I think it's all innocent, but what I notice and see a lot out there is, like you said, people want the prescription. Just tell me what to eat. Just tell me what to do. And you see a post about someone that's talking about, raving about, say, collagen or creatine or something. And people are like, tell me the brand and tell me exactly how much. This association with, whatever you're doing, I want to do it exactly like that, because then I'm going to feel exactly like you felt. And I think we have to really see through that. Part of the journey is seeing through this illusion, because it doesn't work like that. I did a post years ago on this around, it's not about the cake. One of my girlfriends was a cake decorator, and she was talking, she was actually really good. She was good. She's no longer doing it, but she was talking about how every time she talked about it, people wanted to know exactly the type of tools that she used, where she got them. And she just got them from Kmart, which is like Walmart, just the local, seriously
Mhm.
paid $2 for them. But this whole illusion, if I get exactly what you do, I'm going to get exactly the same results. It just never works like that, does it?
No, it does
No.
not. It does not. And it's truly, it's your life experience that leads you to what you recognize or what you see. So it could be something that took place when you were a child. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, it's your genetics. It's the environment that you grew up in. That's all what makes you unique in a journey and what you see. Yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose the awareness of it it's just another way to, yeah, to come back to who we are and to really see, well, right now in this moment, this is the experience that I'm having. What can that teach me? Not, oh, I
Mhm.
so wish I wasn't having those headaches, or I wasn't feeling that overwhelm, or I wasn't feeling that tiredness. Oh, I'm just going to go and, scroll or drink, or, what I used to do. Anything to avoid actually following the insight or following the gift that actually what I'm experiencing right now is giving me. I think it's beautiful. It's lovely. And I think it would be wonderful if everybody who has access to it, who's a premium VIP member within the Thriving Place, can go through it and give you that feedback, Kelly, on what's coming up. Because I think, like a lot of this stuff, it's very difficult to kind of do it in isolation. Having a community or some people to sort of talk about, well, this is, when I do this, this is what I notice, and this is there anything else I can see in that? Like, what else can I see and
Mhm.
understand from what's happening, within me?
The neat thing about becoming aware is as you recognize something and you make corrections to that something. For me, again, it was the inflammation. And once I greatly decreased inflammation throughout my whole body, I was able to feel something else, and then something else, and then something else. And I was able to make a lot of corrections, but still my foundation is the inflammation. And my point is, when you lose inflammation, a significant amount of chronic inflammation, when you lose it, you kind of wake up your body to being able to feel. You wake up those nerves and that nerve communication to recognize other things, good, bad, or indifferent. But you do, and it really if your first step can be to get rid of your inflammation wherever that is, whatever that sign is that you're getting from your body, that insight, lower that. You're, as you coined the phrase, in the weeds, you're going to start coming up out of the weeds. You're going to start climbing that ladder and start seeing where you are. But you have to make that first step. But you have to be aware of what you're doing, not just to lose weight or not just that next, sugar challenge and just go through it willy-nilly because you want the challenge. You want to be able to feel what's happening inside your body when you do this challenge. Long before, Tracy, long before we met, I used the term curiosity.
Yeah.
And I always encourage people to be curious with doing something safely, of course, but be curious. Get rid of grains. Stop eating grains. See what happens.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Sorry, go.
That's all right. No, go ahead.
I was going to ask you for, because we talked about, I'm going to put this out on YouTube as well. So for people listening that are not within the thriving place currently, and you've piqued their curiosity, is there one place where you start? Like, how do you start even becoming more body aware? Is there a starting point?
Being curious, taking a step forward, recognizing that where you are is not necessarily your fault, but it is your responsibility to step out of where you are. And I called what you call the weeds, I called a quagmire. You're in the thick and the mud and just the sewage. It is your responsibility to climb out. And you just do one thing at a time with curiosity. And I think my first step was skipping breakfast, changing, that the intermittent fasting started with 16-8. And with that, I didn't have my typical breakfast. So I didn't start out intending to drop grains completely from my diet, but I had oatmeal every day for breakfast. And I couldn't figure out why by 3:00 in the afternoon, I was so swollen I could hardly move. No, I wasn't necessarily tired. That's not what I couldn't figure out why. And then when I did the intermittent fasting, skipping the breakfast or the oatmeal, I started feeling better and I wasn't getting as swollen. And I was like, wow, this is kind of cool, but I really miss my oatmeal. So 4 weeks into it, I eat oatmeal again. And oh my, it was immediate. Like within a half hour, I was swollen. And then it took 2 weeks. It took 2 weeks to get all that inflammation out of me because I wasn't healed enough, with 2 weeks. And I was so mad because I had to start all over again. But that was the first step. My intention was to see how fasting goes, the 16-8, and it ended up really shining a light on what grains do to me, because then I used that knowledge then to see, okay, corn chips, corn, rice, what, and I had different reactions with all of them, but varying levels of inflammation. But with that knowledge now, I know what's going to happen if I eat grains.
The health halo of oats, we just call it porridge or oats here. It's crazy, and of course it's the number one food for most heart specialists too. It's low in cholesterol. I did my own little oat experiment because I used to have it for breakfast as well every morning, but I'd had honey and banana and sultanas, and I'd feed my kids that, my older kids, they had that as well. And I honestly thought, as we do, that I was doing, giving them the greatest start
Yep.
to the day. And when I first did a CGM, so it's a continuous glucose monitor experiment, gosh, this probably was 5 years ago now when the technology kind of first came out. Maybe I can't even remember when it was, but I thought, oh, I'm going to go and just have this again and see what happens. And actually, it was horrifying watching. I didn't even, because it was low fat milk too, because that was what I used to have as well. So there's no fat in it. Um, and I'm sitting there watching it in real time, my blood sugar go. And at that point, I was been ketogenic for a long time. I'm pretty metabolically flexible, and my insulin did what it should, and my blood sugar shot right up. It went over 12. Probably we're on different measurements. I know. So it would, so 4.5 is kind of normal, stable. So it
Okay.
shot right
Oh,
up.
wow. That's close to, that's probably in the
Yes.
200s then for
No,
us.
I'm not. Yeah. So I don't know what it was very, very high. And I'm looking there watching it. It took about half an hour, obviously, to kick in. And I'm watching it going, oh my. And I'm like, right, that's it. I was going to experiment with different stuff, but I just felt horrendous after. I think I maybe got a day in, like I had a whole grain sandwich with some salad and a small amount of protein for lunch. And I mean, I was starving by the time I got to, no wonder, I kept the binging habit was created. But anyway, the oats is, I think this concept of it being healthy, the marketing of that has just been incredibly clever. But I think it's not just the oats. Of course, we know it's sprayed. Even if you get organic, then it's got the all the lectins that are in it. But it just is sugar. It is literally sugar. And you do an
Right.
experiment like that and see it in real time, then it's very difficult. I don't understand how it persists as being, something that is healthy for our body. But it's a myth that just keeps getting perpetuated.
It is, and and a lot of blame is placed on gluten.
Gluten, there you
And
go.
and
Yep.
I really, I is it gluten? I mean, really, is it really gluten? Or is it because gluten increased in the grains since it's been GMO'd?
Hmm.
Or
Many
is it
layers.
the glyphosate that's causing you problems? Or is it the gluten? I have a really hard time pinpointing and saying it's the gluten. I just have there's too many other factors. So
Mm,
I I have a hard time with gluten. It's an
mm,
amino acid. That's all it is. It's just an
mm,
amino acid. It's part of a protein.
mm,
So and they're in other things. It's in other things, but it has been GMO'd to make those grains produce more starch. It's the sticky stuff in those starches. So of course, when that when that starch increases in those tiny little seeds that they use to grind up, there's going to be more. There is going to be more gluten, but our bodies can't handle that much gluten. But can't handle glyphosate either. And you here in the United States, you can't get any grains without having glyphosate in them. You cannot.
really?
You have to go to Europe. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So you can't get organic oats or something like that.
So no, no, it is so prevalent here. It's used in so much that it
Mm,
leaches across
yeah.
farms. It
Yeah.
leaches, and you just
Yeah.
can't. You can't.
Yeah. That's a risk here too. I mean, I think we've got probably a little bit more land. There are some, that escape that. There was a big court case in Perth a couple of years ago, a few years ago now, where there was a farmer, an organic farm that was next to a standard farm. And he's basically lost his organic license because of the farm next door, what he was spraying on his stuff. And that,
Oh yeah.
anyway, it was a big,
Mhm.
yeah, like issue with that. But I think at the end of the day, yeah, there's just so many layers to the fact that, it's just not real. It's not even remotely real food now, what
No.
we are presented with. And, I guess my lens of oats comes back to the blood sugar, but just because of that experience that I
Right.
had, oh, it was
Well,
horrible.
I'm glad you brought up CGM, and let me make a quick comment about that. I will have a CGM on again at some point in my time, but I will not eat oatmeal to do that experiment. I have no desire.
No,
No.
but the funny thing was with that, I haven't done it, and I did do it a little bit last year. But for me, the Bluetooth is I don't like that. I don't like having my phone on all the time. I don't actually like that Bluetooth connection. So I actually found myself getting anxious when I was doing it
Oh,
this time. So if I was to do it again, I'd just go back to the simple blood finger prick
yeah.
to check. But the interesting thing with the CGM, before I had any understanding of, the quantum stuff or, Bluetooth and all that sort of stuff, the first experience I had was on for 2 weeks. And as I said to you, I was going to do this kind of week where I would go back to how I used to eat and what I thought was healthy. And even just going down the aisle of the cereal, like the cereal aisle, because I've been, 7, 8 years into this prior to this experience, my blood sugar went up because I was looking at all this stuff and, thinking about how, oh
Oh,
my God, I used to eat all this and I would buy all this for my kids. And, I thought, I don't want to do it. I said, didn't last very long. Didn't even last 2 days. So,
yeah.
um, but also just the impact on our blood sugar from things that are not food related. I think that is just a really interesting component to it. And there's a lot of research around blood sugar and blue light as well. How that looks in real time, I don't know because I haven't experimented personally,
Mhm.
with that. But I think anything where there's a underlying, inflammation's chaos, right? So inflammation is not
Mm.
clarity to the body. So whenever there is chaos, whether it's working out how to digest something that it does not know what it is, whether it's trying to work out the time of the day, what hormones are supposed to be, releasing for you, what other stuff's supposed to be going on. I think if it doesn't have clarity, there's some sort of chaos, and it comes back so beautifully to body awareness. We can't possibly know or understand, everything because it's different. It's, as you said at the start, it's unique. How we feel when we do something is unique. I mean, how many people say, "Oh, I can have that, no problem at all," and I'm like, "Yeah, but maybe it's just there's stuff going on you don't have awareness of, or
Mhm.
it's not immediately obvious." I do think that there is, there's a human mold, if you like. And, when there's confusion, there's chaos, there's inflammation, but it's unique for each of us. So, where our current awareness is, what we can learn for our own body, I think it's an incredibly empowering and important part of healing to go down, this path to learn this. And I just think it never ends, right?
I don't
Never
think
ends.
so. Well, I don't want that's kinda scary that it never ends. Um, it's it never ends because you just go, "Oh my gosh, this was great. What else?
Yes.
What
Yes.
else? What
Yeah.
else?" And
Yeah.
so
There's
that's why
always
it
more to
never
learn.
ends. Yeah,
Yeah.
there is
Yeah.
more to learn because we
Yeah.
have a society for the past, I don't know what, I get all fuzzy with all these years, 10,000
Mm.
years. We have just done a number on ourselves
Mm.
that from every aspect, if to having light bulbs in the house and
Yeah.
how that affects us.
That's right. I mean, it from cities and farming, the practices have changed, and, things like our brain size has just diminished in the last 10,000
Yeah.
years. I mean, there's stuff out there, but at the end of the day too, we are in this modern world. We live in the world we live in. We can't escape it. So how do we then live in it in a way that we don't, it doesn't have to make us sick, that we can protect our health. And I think that comes back to body awareness.
Being curious
Yeah.
with, right, being curious.
Mm,
Yeah. Step somewhere. Do one thing that's gonna, I can't say that's going to make a difference because you never know until you try it.
100%.
Try something. Try, if you're inflicted with headaches, try, do something. Read a book, The Migraine by Angela Stanton. Read her book. See if you can garner something from that book. Be knowledgeable. And it's the body awareness comes also from learning from other people. Learning from Ben Bickman, from Jason Fung, from Tracy McBee. Learning from the people that are freely giving their information.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, learning, taking, and then putting it into your life. What really is something that helps me see with more clarity my next step or my choices, how
Right.
I can shift things, what I can change. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Kelley, love for you, just as we wrap it up, just, in context of the course, is it videos? Is it reading? What does it actually look like?
It's mostly reading, and it's
Right.
and it fo it's interactive too. So
Okay.
there's just little blips of nuggets of information, things for you to contemplate, things for you to just sit with and think about. And then there are some suggestions, like scenarios. Try this. Try putting your phone across the room for the last hour that you're awake, and don't touch it when you go to bed,
Yep.
and see what happens. What
Yep.
have you noticed? Or, trying a new food, or eliminating a food from your diet, or and then there's actually a journal in there too, a guided journal to help
Oh,
you with asking you questions, or giving you cues for you to answer your insights, not what somebody else has has experienced. So there's really no stories in there about me because we're all different. I want people to see what's happening inside their body. But I also give suggestions from my experience of helping other clients. Look for these pieces. Look for those cravings. If I have sugar, a week ago, last Thursday, I went on a business luncheon, and the supervisor, the boss, purchased mocktails for everyone at this cruise. And the description, I took a mocktail, and it was fresh squeezed lime, a little bit of mint, and club soda. I'm like, cool, that's what I'm gonna have. Nope. It They didn't say it had simple syrup in it. It was woo. Yeah. Oh, the cravings, the cravings, the cravings. And
yeah.
it's still lingering with me 5 days later.
Yeah. Wow.
The
Wow.
sugar I had a
Mm.
very sugary day, sugary couple hours.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
interesting. How interesting.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, the course, and I have it up on my other monitor. That's why I'm looking over there. It's guided. It's interactive. It's keeping the brain busy. There is one video in there, and I left it up just for somebody else's perspective on metabolic health. Again, knowledge, learning why you want to make changes for your metabolic health. So it's a little video in that, but the rest of it is self exploration and learning why why you want to make a change, what is happening when you make that change.